Greetings and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things Fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hance. Each week, I visit with a Fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week, I'm visiting with Lubna Kerr Ihsan Kerr, a mother and son duo presenting A Better Memory at Edinburgh Fringe this year. Eleanor switches on an AI replica of her late husband for comfort, only to discover memories that don't match her own. Mia is a young disillusioned with dating men and in love with an AI chatbot. When secrets surface and the past begins to unravel, both women are forced to question what they thought they knew. A Better Memory is a world premiere at the Pleasance Courtyard at the Edinburgh Fringe this year. It marks Lubna Kerr's fourth show at the Pleasance and is written by her son, Ihsan Kerr.
I'm passionate about it because art should be for everybody. It doesn't matter what colour you are, what race you are, what religion you are, what language you speak, what ability you have or disabilities, where you come from, what sexuality is. There is a space for everybody. And it's a form of expression. You know, we all have stories to tell. Some people's stories are funnier, some people's stories are sad, but we all have stories to tell. And everybody's voice should be heard. And people just don't know what the path to having their voice heard is. And I see my job as opening the door for them and saying, look, follow this path. This is what I've done. Here are the pitfalls. Don't make these mistakes, but I can help you navigate a path to having your voice heard.
Lubna Kerr is a Scottish-Pakistani writer, performer, producer, and community arts practitioner. Her work explores identity, migration, aging, belonging, and social justice through theater, comedy, and storytelling. She has written and toured the acclaimed Box trilogy, Tickbox, Chatterbox, and Lunchbox, secured multiple rounds of funding from Creative Scotland, and produced work for the Edinburgh Festival Fringe and venues across the UK. Ihsan Kerr has been enjoying a diverse creative career, beginning as a child actor before performing as a singer-songwriter throughout university to help pay the bills. He then discovered his true love of improvisation while studying in America. He has been a member of the Improverts and a regular guest performer with Fringe favorites Men with Coconuts and Spontaneous Players. Last year, he turned to writing, helping his mother co-create the third play in the Tickbox trilogy, Lunchbox. Following the show's positive reception and strong reviews, he decided to write his first full-length play exploring his interest in the role AI can play in relationships. Lubna Ihsan, welcome to What the Fringe!
Hello!
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I have been so excited to have you all on. Lubna, we met last year at the Edinburgh Fringe. You came up to flyer me. Your show was on my radar. I thought it was really interesting. I just couldn't fit it into my schedule. And you popped up and had me a flyer and I told you that, I just don't have time. And then you proceeded to sit down at the table with me and talk with me for like 5 minutes and just like love me as a human. And I was like, this woman is amazing. I think she is absolutely wonderful. I am a dedicated fan for life. I think it just goes to show like when you actually care about people and invest in them, they want to support you.
Oh, thank you. It was fun, actually. In my head, I'm like, you're not getting away with it.
That's so good. You're like, I'm going to win you over. You did. I mean, like your show is top of the list. I'm coming.
I know what it's like being on both sides of it, being flyered and also doing the flyering. And people buy from people they like, and people want to see the human side of the artist. And I always flyer myself. I don't get anybody else to flyer because you're the best person to sell the show. And yet my flyering takes about 10 times longer than anybody else's because I sit down and I chat to them and I say, well, you know, what do you want to see? What are you interested in? And then if it's not my show, there'll be something else on at the Pleasance that I can say, well, come see this.
Yeah. I love that at Take. I do that as well. A lot of places I'll walk up to, there's posters up and I'll say, hi, you know, what's going on? What kind of shows are you interested in? What are you looking for? And people love that. And you see that what that 5 minutes has produced.
Yeah, a podcast.
I know.
I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know who you were. You were just a random stranger who was very nice to me, very kind, and said, I'm really sorry I can't come. And I'm like, that's all right, don't worry about it. You know, let's just have a chat. How are you doing? And I suppose because I did pick up on the Texan accent and because my eldest son lived in Texas, I'm like, oh, this might be a fun person to have a chat with. So
And then there we go.
It's sort of the magic of the Fringe, isn't it? You never know what people are hiding and what they've got up their sleeves. So I think it's the more people you can meet during Fringe, the better opportunities you're going to have.
Right. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who's watching you. Just because they didn't come this year doesn't mean they're not going to come next year. Doesn't mean you're not on their radar. And you just treat them like humans, and it always pays off.
Treat them with kindness. You know, I think that's really important. Just be kind. There's not a reason to be not nice or unpleasant. It's not difficult.
Right. One of the things that I found in the US with the Fringes as well, and in Canada, is the Fringe seems very supportive. Maybe it's the people I run around with, but it's a hard slog and there's no time for the ego. And you just have to support each other.
Yeah, it's hard to have ego when you're losing thousands of pounds probably to put on a show. And everybody realizes that, that we have to do everything that we can to keep the Fringe alive. And part of that is about celebrating the opportunities that you get or others get, or helping people get those opportunities. Because it is such a difficult time to be in theatre, I think it sort of brings everybody together. Yeah,
absolutely. Well said. Well said. Well, let's move on a little bit and talk about you all as a mother-son duo. What brought you to that place?
This is Mum's fourth play at the Fringe, and we've had a separate creative journey just throughout our lives. So we did different things. We haven't really collaborated that much. And then over the last few years, I've been doing less creative stuff. I've been sort of working in my job day to day. But over the years, every year, I've gotten closer and closer to the creative process of Mum's shows. And so last year, that was helping sort of co-write the show. I'm an improviser by training, so I've never written anything down in my life. And this was like a new exercise for me to try and think about structure. And I understand the general beats of a scene and an overall structure and an arc and stuff, but to actually have to put that on paper was quite new. And I really enjoyed it. And so this to me is like the natural next step for me and Mum. We're always on that collision course, if you will.
We've collided this year.
Oh, Dish, what has exploded in the rehearsal room?
No, Ihsan's co-directing it and he's doing a great job. It's interesting when you read other people's plays, other people's stuff, you can see how they write. And Ihsan's, it's really a screenplay he's written that we've now adapted it into a play. But I could easily see this as a film, as a longer piece, an hour and a half film, easily an hour and a half play. Obviously for a Fringe, we've had to cut it down to an hour, but you can see talent when it's there. I've been doing this for 15 years. Ihsan writes his first play, right? First play, then gets invited down to Hackney Empire Theatre in London.
Good job.
Well done, Ihsan. That's really good. It went really well. So it's going really well, actually. I think because we do think very similarly. And Ihsan's got a really good eye of seeing how things, and when he writes, he sort of visualises it. It's real fun, actually, working with him. It's really nice to have that such a strong sense of bonding in the play.
It's a little corny, but it is true, which is that when we're sitting in rehearsals, it is quite cool that I just know that this is a very unique opportunity. Like, a lot of people don't get this with their parents. And I do think we work well together. I think I've said this to Mum before, that we've had many years of learning how to argue. And so we can just have healthier discussions or arguments. And if we disagree, it's not the end of the world. We're not going to not talk to each other again. We're actually able to have difficult conversations like that, which is really nice. We're unbelievably polite with the co-director, who's fantastic. And we just don't need to be as polite. We can sort of butt heads and it becomes productive. And Mum has a lot to do in this play. She's the main actress, so she's on for every scene. And so she's got a lot to remember. It's a really fun atmosphere.
Yeah. Oof. Very exciting. Does your co-director ever go, I'm going to back off for a second, let you guys sort that out?
I think the only time it happened was we did our first full run through last week, and I forgot that I actually do find it really anxiety inducing to watch my mum on stage. And I didn't quite get that when we were doing it scene by scene, because we're so, okay, this line and then try this line and walk here and stuff, that you're not getting that sort of performance aspect of it. But then once we actually did a full run through, my palms are sweaty and I'm sitting there being like, oh, I really hope this goes well. And it comes from a place of worry, right? I just want her to be okay, which I think Mum probably finds a little bit ludicrous. But yeah, I sort of had to warn them afterwards. I was like, I forgot that this is what happens to me when I watch my mum perform.
That's love.
It is true. Our co-director is called Catherine Marper and the other actor is called Coach Crawford. And honestly, they've been brilliant. Really, really brilliant. And we are a really lovely, cohesive team, the four of us. There's never a bad word. Everybody's very genuinely polite and genuinely understanding and trying to see things from the other point of view. And Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Normally it's just me and a director, or me and the dramaturge and then the director. But actually having 4 people together there, it's worked really well. I'm surprised, because I didn't know what to expect. But actually, it couldn't be any better. It's lovely.
As a writer, it's really interesting. Mum mentioned earlier that I sort of wrote it as a screenplay, and I definitely did write it as a screenplay. I very much had it in my head. As I think there's this social commentary going on just now that everybody's writing things like a screenplay, because that's sort of, we watch most things on screens, and I'm seeing that a lot in theatre, and people are saying it in novels and stuff, and I am a victim of that as well. But I think the cool thing for me working with both Coach and Catherine is that they really do understand the nature of the play, the humor of the play, the tension of the play. And so when they just have a totally different take on a line or on a meaning, it's so interesting for me to see somebody engage with that work in a totally different way. And often they're right. And I'm I didn't see it this way, but it was there all the time. And once you put something out into the world, it's sort of no longer yours. And it's really cool to see the different interpretations.
The beauty of collaboration. I remember that feeling. You're pulling up feelings of me. One of the first times a director got a hold of my script and I was just sitting in the room as the writer and the actors had their take and it was just electrifying. If you're a collaborative person, to see that take shape, it's very, very cool. I love that you're having that experience. It's very good. Lubna, I have a question, and maybe it's selfish because I've got a little daughter that's interested in the arts. And what has it been like to watch your kiddo grow and blossom as an artist and now partner with you? How does that feel?
It's honestly fantastic. It's actually been frustrating over the years because he has so much talent, right? And it's frustrating as a mother when you can see that talent and you're like, I just wish, just do this. But you know that old proverb, you can take a horse to water. And when at the right time to drink, that will happen. And that's happened to Ihsan. He's been acting since he was, probably the day he was born. Honestly, it's lovely. To me, I feel like this is such a big step for him because he's always been on the sidelines in putting himself forward. As a mum, you're like, oh no, you're good. Do this. But we've all got our own self-doubt. And I think this is such a fantastic step for him to be out there. And then, to be invited down to Hackney Empire Theatre in London. And it's validation. And I know mums will always say their kids are good, won't they? We're never going to say our kids are bad. And so for Ihsan to hear it externally is just brilliant. And I couldn't be happier. It'd be so sad if he never actually fulfilled his ambition in the creative world. And he's really taken a big step forward.
I'm going to come in with a completely different take. There's this incredible irony, which is that usually it's the opposite way around, where the child says, I want to go into the arts, and particularly an Asian mother says, don't you dare, I'll hit you with the shoe. But instead, it's the total opposite way, where my mum is trying to encourage me to do all these different things, and I have to sit down with mum and say, Mum, I have a job. I need to do my job.
And I'm like, what have I done wrong to have a son who doesn't like the arts?
That's so good. Well, I was going to say, how did it impact you that you had a mother who started a career in the arts? I'm guessing when you were in some of your formative years, to watch her move from one season of life into this new season as an artist. How did that impact you?
To be honest, it's pretty tough when you're younger watching your mum start to become a stand-up comedian. That's taken a few years off of my life. But the sort of whole round story is that, when you're younger, you sort of think that these things are less cool or embarrassing or whatever. And then I remember watching the first Tickbox. And Tickbox is a really uplifting play, which is about essentially, it's not too late to chase your dreams. It doesn't really matter who you are. Just go out and do it. And I remember really taking away the message from that play and finding that very uplifting. And I think that mum, not only showed that in the play, but I think is herself that lesson. And I find that quite uplifting. And so as I've gotten older, I think I really appreciate seeing mum do these things. I also think it gives me a bit more hope, that it is not too late to get into these things. Mum really is desperate for me too. I am also desperate for me too. And it's just about finding that path that I can balance. So yeah, it was a bit of a journey, but I got there in the end.
I can imagine, was she doing stand up in the kitchen? And you were like, that joke's not working, bro.
Yes, very early on, I was subject to the initial jokes.
All the working out of the jokes. What if I say it this way?
My favorite bit is that my mum's had the same stand-up jokes for the last 10 years. And every single time she goes to a gig, I say, Mum, you have to change what you're going to say. And she turns around to me and honest to God just says, these people haven't heard these jokes. And that's it. And she's just going to do the same until everyone's heard them.
Yes, there you go. Done. Well, we'll pivot a little bit on that. I was looking at your website, Lubna, and you have a real passion about bringing the global majority to the theater and exposing them to the arts, whether they're immigrants into your country or they're expats or however they're there, to let them know that the arts is there for them. It's accessible. Tell me a little bit about that work and your passion for that and what drives you.
When I wrote my first play, Tickbox, I did some workshops with people from the global majority, asking them about, would they come and see a play? And they're like, what is a play? And I'm like, how can you not know what a play is, you know? And then I just thought about it and I said, what about a stage show? And they're like, yeah, we come to that. It was such a big lesson for me that using the right language to get to people is the first part of it. And I think I'm passionate about it because art should be for everybody. It doesn't matter what colour you are, what race you are, what religion you are, what language you speak, what ability you have or disabilities, where you come from, what sexuality is. There is a space for everybody. And it's a form of expression. You know, we all have stories to tell. Some people's stories are funnier, some people's stories are sad, but we all have stories to tell. And everybody's voice should be heard. And people just don't know what the path to having their voice heard is. And I see my job as opening the door for them and saying, look, follow this path. This is what I've done. Here are the pitfalls. Don't make these mistakes, but I can help you navigate a path to having your voice heard. And I think that's so important because, to be fair, I've worked really hard. Creative Scotland, who are a funding body, have helped me research and develop my stuff. So I'm really grateful to them. But it's difficult when you come in as an older woman into the arts. I didn't go to RADA or Lambda or Conserv. I didn't go to one of those traditional theatre colleges, universities. And so I was a newbie in an established environment. And people are like, who's she? Who does she think she is? You know, they never said that, but you could see them thinking, oh, a plumber wouldn't do that, would they? Just come in and try and fix things. So I've had to work really, really hard to break down those barriers, to show the arts world, actually, you know what, maybe I can tell a joke, maybe I can write a play. Whilst it's really hard work, I think it's given other organisations, other people from the global majority coming to do their own stuff. So, for example, I did some workshops with a group called NKS, a group of older women from South Asian background, all different, Indian, Pakistani, Bengali, Sri Lanka, everywhere. And, you know, this year, they're doing something at the Fringe. Just one show, and it's about climate change. And I'm like, yeah! You know, and to me, I mean, I'm not involved in it. They asked me what to do, and I said, oh, you need to find a venue, do this. You know, but they've just ran with it. And it brings me so much joy that I am polishing my halo, because I know if I hadn't gone to them and said, these are the plays that I do. Every time I did Tickbox or Chatterbox and Lunchbox, I would go and share whatever the theme was. I would say, what was it like for you growing up? Or were you bullied at school? Or what names were you called? Or were you depressed? Whatever the theme was, I would discuss it with them. I mean, I had the story I was going to tell anyway, but I wanted them to start thinking about their life, their story, their journey. What could they tell? And you know, it's about giving them permission. So the fact that they're doing this one-off Fringe show, they've got that permission, and I'm so happy.
That's beautiful. And have you found not only are they creating art and bringing it to the Fringe, which is the beauty of the Fringe, and that's your local Fringe, and that they have an opportunity to do that. It's not like, you know, some people come to Edinburgh, they want to make something big. And it doesn't have to be that. It can be this. This is the absolute glory of Fringe. It makes my heart happy. Have you also found, though, that they are realizing that this is an event that is for them to come and attend? Like, how has that audience grown that they've maybe come to see your show and maybe tried out another show to see if this was something that was available to them? What is that like?
It was really interesting because when I was doing Tickbox, the second time I did it was Tickbox 2. I was at Summer Hall. And because I do all these workshops and tell people what it's about, and Tickbox is also about migration and coming from a South Asian country and what it was like to move to Scotland. And that's everybody's story. Anybody who's migrated, is their story. And so it was great to see a room, half of which side was brown and the other half was white. And they were all laughing at different jokes. And it was interesting to see one side laugh at one point. And then when the brown people laughed and the white people didn't, they're like, what are they laughing at? And then when the white people laughed and the brown people didn't, the white people are like, then, oh, should we not be laughing because they're not? So I'm on stage watching this interplay while at the same time trying to keep going, deliver my line. So it's been brilliant. I think it goes back to permission. And because they've never really been able to access the art, or it's not been open to them, or they don't know what it's about, coming to see a show like mine where A, they know me, B, they'll be comfortable with the story, C, the Green is such a great place to go and see a show. It's where the kids' shows are in the morning, and then we're there in the afternoon or the evening. They feel a place of comfort and safety. And then they're like, right, she's not misled us. Because I feel I've got quite a responsibility when inviting people to the show. Because if it doesn't work for them and it turns them off, and then they say, oh, that's theatre's rubbish, I'm not going to go. So I feel a huge responsibility. But thankfully that hasn't happened. And they've enjoyed it. And then they'll go and see other things that are on in the Fringe. So yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for sharing that. That is very, very exciting to me. Well, let's pivot a little bit and talk about the show, A Better Memory. Ihsan, I was reading in your intake form that you said that this show began as a business plan. Tell me about that. What do you mean?
I just thought, like, I have so much online data, like messages to people and things like that, that surely it would not be that difficult to create something that talks like me. I just don't have any of the technical capability that is needed. And sort of as AI has become bigger and bigger, that idea has become way less far-fetched. This idea that you can preserve your voice now super easy. You have all of your messages, all of your photos that could be like sort of put into memories and things like that. So you could create this artificial person. So that was the idea, was like, could you have a sort of version of you that is preserved that you can, use to talk as you, or to talk in the future to your descendants and things like that as a concept. And then last year we were thinking about what we were going to do for the following year, as in this year's Fringe. And I realized that I'd had this idea rattling around in my head for quite a while, and that actually it would make a really interesting and impactful story to explore the things that could happen if one actually did that.
Yeah. There's a generational gap in the story. There's 2 generations of women dealing with AI in very different ways. And how did you all work together in that as like people of different generations working on the play? And what did you learn from each other? How did you bounce ideas? What made you scratch your head? I'm like swimming with questions. I'm just curious about that generational gap.
I was really keen to have 2 different perspectives, particularly with AI moving so fast. We often say that, people will never listen to AI music. But like in 30 years or 40 years, it could be that that's all that they listen to, and that they're surprised that people listen to human-made music and stuff. And I think that there's going to be a lot of that. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying that that is the pace that things are moving at. And so I wanted to show someone that thinks that talking to an AI and dating an AI is just the normal standard thing to do. And that's sort of the younger generation perspective. And so that character, Mia, is online all the time, is very internet. And then I wanted to show the older generation who has not lived through that and is having to sort of catch up with where the technology is today. And the crucial and interesting point that the play examines is that the person that Mia is talking to is not real. Right? It's just a fabrication. It's just a personality. But the person that Eleanor is talking to was real and, was her husband. And whether or not that makes a difference. Right now we talk a lot about what's a character AI and things like that. And there's lots of examples of people having AI boyfriends and girlfriends or people to keep them company. But I've never heard a story yet where it's actually properly based on someone. There are lots of examples of that, but not to the extent to which this goes. So that's sort of the reason why we wanted the different generations in there. And then in terms of your question of what did we learn, it's been interesting to have, so myself and Catherine are the co-directors, and we are from a younger generation, and Mum's previous writing and sort of existing audience is generally skews to an older generation. And so it was important to make sure that we have enough for everybody. I think a lot of the humor can often be for a younger generation. A lot of the humor can be sort of internet-based jokes, particularly when it comes from Mia. But I wanted to make sure that there's enough references in there that give that feeling of nostalgia. I think Mum's shows do that really well, and it's not necessarily something that I have had that much experience in, but I really tried to capture that so that it's at least in keeping with the previous work that we've done. And again, also, you've got to write for these 2 audiences of people that are just going to understand the show and the technology without that much introduction. So the first line of the play, if you use AI a lot, you're going to hear it as an AI line, as in like she's going to be talking to an AI. But if you don't use AI regularly, you might not pick up on that immediately. And so we also need to make sure that during the play, it's explained clearly enough how it works, the borders of it, the capability of the technology and things like that for people that might not innately understand that immediately. And so again, when we've been working it out, it's been helpful to understand what does mum, what does Coach innately understand about the technology? What lines do they get? I think almost every week there is a line where mum goes, oh, I never got what that was. Didn't get that reference. And you just get that to herself. So yeah, like a lot of interesting things there.
Well, it just blows my mind because I'm in between y'all's generation, right? And thought of having like a relationship with an AI bot is super weird to me. And I kind of wonder, like as older audiences come in, for them to really grapple with, especially Eleanor's character, of the idea of there's this thing that is this person that I loved that's died and I can interact with them. And what does that mean? And is that rubbish? Is this weird? It's a strange wrestling. I guess what it leads me to is, have you had any of your audience members, those older audience members, come in and experience it yet? Are you going to do a little bit of a test before you do your final production at Edinburgh just to see how people are responding?
We're going to do a couple of previews. I always try and preview outside Edinburgh. So we're going to Morecambe, which is in the West Coast, lovely part of the world. And we'll have 2 previews there. And I think that is the question that Ihsan wants people leaving thinking, how would I feel? Would I want that? Would I want my husband, my partner, whoever it is? Would I want to have their memories in the box? So we want people to go away thinking about those things. And they might not get it straight away. And they might want to come back and see the play again to think, well, what did I miss? Was there other stuff there? Edinburgh's world premiere. The previews that we're having in Morecambe will be to a very small audience of older adults, I imagine. And that'll be a good way to get their sort of understanding. And because they're small fringes, we'll be able to chat to the audience afterwards and say, did you understand this? Not as much a workshop, but a sort of in a workshop way. Say, what do you think? Did this work? This not work? And then we'll make those tweaks and then we'll bring it to Edinburgh. But it is to make you think. You know, we don't want to lay everything out. It is for people to have a think. It's such a powerful and important subject that it's not, you can't deal with it lightly.
Yeah, and I think in the first original version that I wrote, we actually wondered whether or not we should have a post-show discussion after every show, as in like as part of the show, because the whole point is really to ask this question. I really wanted all of the technology that's in the play to be technology that is possible to use or create today. So there's like nothing in there that is too futuristic. Maybe it's like a little bit clever, but you could certainly build, using all of your digital data just now and your voice, you could build something very, very close to this. And it was really important for me to stick to that because I really want people to have to grapple with this question. I was listening to a story about an older woman, like a 90-year-old woman that lives in the middle of nowhere, America, and she has this AI bot that keeps her company. And she's very much aware that it is a robot and it's there to help her, you know, if she falls, and just to keep her company, keep her chatting so that she can sort of keep sound in mind. And obviously, as we have an older aging population and we're sort of figuring out how we're going to look after people, I think that question of, well, do you want an AI robot is one question. The second question is, do you want it to have your late husband's voice? Because that's not a difficult thing to do now. And would you say yes to that? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, it's baffling.
Lauren, just to sort of a bit of a left turn here, but you have lots of podcasts. So you have lots of data available on your voice. So that is something that you could do or that your daughter could do after you're gone in the future. And the question is just, is that something that you would want to happen? Is that something she would want to happen? It's not an easy question to answer. That's the point of the show, is it's really about, like, do we want this? Is this a healthy part of grieving? You know, do we need to sort of let people go? Because you know, there might be a 90-year-old woman that says, no, you know, I don't know how long I've got left. I don't need to spend my time grieving. I would like to just talk to my dead husband, please. And I think that's a totally valid position to be in. We really want to sit in that sort of uncomfortable, crunchy discussion point there.
That's really complicated. And I mean, it's interesting too. And I think it's a social dilemma that you said there's this woman who has in America that's living alone and has this bot, and there's something that's, okay, well, she has something to keep her company, but where are the humans? Like, why are people not looking in? Why are we not living in community that's taking care of someone? And that is an interesting question. Videos they're like living photographs, but to have it give you suggestions, but it's not my brain. So is it scanning the internet going, should you open a pension? Let me see. And let me do it in your mother's voice. Like, and would she have said that? Does she know anything about pensions?
It's interesting because you could have one layer where it's just the voice, and then everything that they're saying, the actual content is based off of, whatever LLM that you're using. But really in this play, the idea is that it's based off of all his messages and all his photos and things like that.
When I tour my plays, I always do a Q&A. All my plays, all the box trilogies, always do a Q&A. And I think when we tour Better Memory, we will do that because so many questions are going to come up. And then the Fringe, Lauren, it's fast turnaround. One show, get your set off, next play's come in and next show's come in. So we don't have time. And I do think that people will want to talk to us after the show. So they'll want to have that conversation. So we're going to have to get changed quickly and then go and have a chat to them because it's going to bring up lots of questions. And I'm not saying we're going to have the answers, but it's just for people to think.
Yeah, I have lots of questions. Brain is swimming. It's fascinating. Goodness. Well, we're getting close on time. I do want to give you a chance to shout out. You're helping produce another show called Parkies. Give us just a quick little pitch on that show and how your involvement is.
So Parkies is written by a lovely guy called Ross, who's a retired accountant. And he went to a screenwriting course and then wrote this wonderful play and decided he'd been to the Fringe a few times as, watching shows and decided he wanted a Fringe experience. And so he just booked a venue and then got in touch with Matthew, who I've used for a long time as PR. And Matthew's asking all the questions because he knows how I work. And all the questions that he got were negative answers. And Matthew was panicking that Ross might come along, do one show and think, I can't do this, and then leave when he's booked the whole run. So that's when he called me and said, do you think you could have a chat with Ross? So I asked him all the questions and I think Ross could see my face like drop. And I said, you need this, and this. And he's like, will you help me? And I'm like, sure. Will you pay me? Sure. So Ross works as always retired an accountant. He volunteers in a national park in Utah. And it's about life of a park ranger in the national parks. And there's love interest. There's a mother and son who've always worked in the park and how their views change. And it's about recycling and climate change. And it's honestly, for a first timer, it's really, really, really good play. So I'm producing it. And yeah, it's fun. It is really fun. I'm also producing another play called We're All Florida Man, but she's based in Edinburgh, so I'm helping her. But she's a writer, so she knows more about what the process is. But I've really enjoyed it, Lauren. So if there are any Americans who want a Fringe experience, I'm your woman. I can do it all for you.
Yay! We need to get you set up with a whole company and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. If they don't have a play, we've got a writer. I got Ross social media. I've got him a voice coach. We're organising the filming. We've got another actor. We're doing online rehearsals. It's been great.
Well, and that's really exciting, though, because it sounds like an older gentleman and you're helping that person because you have been in that situation. And it's really exciting. Another way that you're making the arts accessible to people.
100%. I've even got him an understudy because I think people underestimate how much it takes out of you. And it is when you're doing 25 shows. So I've got Ross an understudy because I think he'll want time off. It's not a one-man show. It's a cast of 3. But it's always just good to have somebody else who can step in. So yes, I'm producing 3 shows, so I'm going to be really busy.
Congratulations. Very exciting. All right. Well, we are getting close to time, so it's time for my last famous question, which is, what is your most interesting, awkward, or heartwarming Fringe interaction that you've had? Any little story you'd like to share? So both of you get a chance to share.
My plays are only an hour long, okay? So it's not a long time to sit. And if you need the toilet, well, tough. You just have to cross your legs and just wait. But this one time, this guy got up and I thought, okay, that's fine. It's 20 minutes into the show. And I thought, he'll come back. And he comes back with a bottle of wine in a champagne or something in one of these cooler things with 4 glasses. And he's just, him and his crew or whoever his family was with, they're just drinking champagne, enjoying the play. And when you're a solo person on stage and you're trying not to look at them, and I so wanted to make a comment about it, but I would have then come out of character. But he obviously loved it so much, and they were so relaxed that they're like, "Yeah, we'll just bring a bottle of wine. We'll just have a party here."
I can't imagine. He's like, "This is such a great show. We just gotta have a party here, man."
Absolutely. So that's probably. I mean, apart from the obvious things about when people fall asleep in the front row, that, and then the next person like, wake up, and like, you're so close to them, you can hear them snoring.
I mean, they've never fallen asleep in your show, obviously.
Never. My shows are always great.
I've never fallen asleep during a show.
But some of the venues are so hot. And so I have seen people fall asleep, and I don't know why they always fall. If they're going to fall asleep, don't sit in the front row. So I think that's the fun. I'm always looking for people who are going to fall asleep in other people's shows.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I have done that, and it's very embarrassing. I mean, and it's usually because it's either it's been a long day, it's towards the end of the festival, and it's hot. It's usually when it's really, really hot. All right, Ihsan, what's your story?
Right, I'll finish with a heartwarming one, shall I? Was it last year? There was a huge power cut, and so a bunch of shows got cancelled halfway through, and I was seeing this Korean musical. It was like a sci-fi Korean musical, which is a sentence that only exists in Fringe. And it was really interesting. We're halfway through, and it was really interesting to see sort of like the different theatre style, the different ways that they tell a story, the things that are sort of more subtle, less subtle, etc. But this power cut happens, and so they can't do the show, and they're not sure what to do, but they're like, we've got these amazing actors, we've got these amazing musicians, and so we all just pile into the cafe right next to the theatre, and we just have this gorgeous little acoustic show for the rest of the time. And I think that to me is like the magic of Fringe. We've got these amazing people in an amazing place. Let's just do whatever we can.
Such a good story. We're done. Podcast over. That's it.
Well, different story, which you can cut if you want later on. Or
yeah, add it. Go for it.
So I won't tell you who it was, but I was watching a comedy show. And because of the rise of TikTok, a lot of the newer comedians have become famous because of TikTok. And they haven't done the work to work in the clubs and to know how to work with the audience. And there was just this guy who was selling a lot of tickets in a room, 500 people. I was really bored. And I thought, this is an hour of my time. I was just getting really annoyed with him because he hadn't done his work. And it just annoys me. You got to tell the same joke for 10 years before it lands, right? He hadn't done that. And I was like, oh my God, if I walk out, I never walk out in shows. I can't remember any show I've walked out. And I'm like, oh God, if I walk out, it'll look really bad. I didn't. And then the smoke alarm went off. We all had to leave the building. And I'm like, thank you, God. And I didn't have to go back.
And that's Mum found guilty of arson.
Oh my goodness. It was like, oh, that was so awful. I'm like, how come God answers me so quickly? Where is it? Where are all of us? I want a man. Where's my man? 6 days, I've not got a man yet. Oh, but I want to escape this show. And it gets answered like...
That's good stuff. Oh, man. Oh, you all are just absolutely delightful. And it has been so, so wonderful to have you on What the Fringe. Like, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting us. I've had a ball. It's been great.
Yeah. This has been great fun. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, A Better Memory is playing at the Pleasance at 6:30 p.m. every day throughout the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. You can learn more about Lubna at her website at lubnakerr.com and keep up with Lubna and Ihsan at Kerr Arts Collective on Facebook and on Instagram, Ihsan Kerr and Lubna Kerr. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hance. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renowned Media, and those sweet tunes you hear provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound. And our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release. Keep up with What the Fringe on Instagram at whatthefringe_productions and find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. Flyering is no joke, especially towards the end of a festival where patrons are just done with you handing papers to them. And sometimes it gets a little aggressive and they're like,
I'll hit you with the shoe.